Even late at night, when the streets were quieter and the wind carried a sharp winter chill, the city kept breathing. Subway trains rattled underground, distant sirens echoed between towering buildings, and neon lights flickered like exhausted stars. People hurried past one another, wrapped in coats and thoughts, focused solely on getting home. Near the entrance of a subway station, a man sat quietly on the cold concrete steps. Most people no longer noticed him. His clothes were worn and layered, never enough to fend off the cold. His beard was untrimmed, his hands rough and cracked from weeks of exposure. Beside him lay a small cardboard sign, its letters faded from countless days of exposure to the harsh city elements. Just trying to survive. Thousands had walked past him that night. Thousands would pass him again. Most looked away. Some pretended not to see him at all. A few tossed spare change without stopping. But almost no one spoke. Daniel Reed had just finished his shift at a downtown office. He was ordinary in every sense, early 30s, average job, average life. He wasn't wealthy or famous. He wasn't extraordinary in ways that the world often celebrated. But he was tired of work, tired of routine, tired of the constant noise that never seemed to pause in New York. As he walked toward the subway entrance, Daniel noticed the man. Something made him slow down. Perhaps it was the way the man clutched his coat tightly around himself, or the emptiness in his eyes that went deeper than mere hunger. Daniel hesitated, fighting the familiar thought that everyone has, someone else will help. Yet no one else stopped. Daniel walked past him, then something inside him shifted. He turned around. "Hey," Daniel said softly. The man looked up, startled. Few people ever spoke to him. "Yeah," came the cautious reply. "It's freezing out here," Daniel said. "Have you eaten tonight?" The man shook his head. "Not today." Daniel pointed across the street to a small coffee shop. "Wait here. I'll be right back." The man said nothing. He had heard promises before. Many, in fact. Yet Daniel didn't hesitate. He crossed the street, entered the warm glow of the cafe, and returned 10 minutes later with a steaming cup of coffee and a sandwich. He handed them to the man, who stared as if unsure whether this kindness was real. "Thank you," the man whispered. "You didn't have to do this." Daniel shrugged. "I know. But I wanted to." Instead of leaving, Daniel sat down on the cold steps beside him, ignoring the icy concrete seeping through his coat. "My name's Daniel," he said. After a brief pause, the man responded, "Michael." Silence lingered for a moment, punctuated only by the steam rising from the coffee between Michael's hands. "Rough night?" Daniel asked gently. Michael let out a small laugh. "Rough few years." Daniel didn't push. He waited. Eventually, Michael began to share. "I used to have a life," he said. "A good one, actually." Daniel listened intently as Michael recounted a life that once had purpose. He had been a high school history teacher, passionate about his students and the little victories in their learning. He had an apartment, friends, and a rhythm to life that felt safe. Then, everything unraveled. A drunk driver ran a red light. Michael survived, but barely. Months in the hospital, staggering medical bills, lost employment, and the slow suffocation of depression followed. His marriage didn't survive the pressure. One bad year turned into another, and eventually, Michael had nowhere left to turn. "I'm not lazy," Michael said quickly, sensing judgment even in Daniel's quiet presence. "I tried. I really did. But once you fall this far, people stop seeing you as a person." Daniel nodded, his chest tightening. "I see you." Michael looked at him, really looked at him, and the words that followed seemed to carry the weight of years of neglect. "That means more than you know," he said. Daniel checked the time. His train would arrive soon. Before leaving, he wrote his number on a small scrap of paper and handed it to Michael. "If you're still around tomorrow," Daniel said, "I can help you find a shelter. Or at least connect you with someone who can." Michael took the paper as if it might disappear. "You don't have to." Daniel smiled. "I know. But sometimes help starts small." And small it began. The next day, Daniel returned. And the day after. Together, they navigated the maze of local shelters, community centers, and social programs. Paperwork, waiting lists, and rejection letters made progress slow, but Daniel's persistence never wavered. Weeks passed. Michael shaved his beard. He stood taller, moved with more purpose, and even began volunteering at the shelter to help others, echoing the same compassion Daniel had shown him. One afternoon, the shelter coordinator called him in. "There's a school looking for a substitute teacher," she said. "It's part-time. The pay isn't great, but your experience." Michael's hands trembled. "I'll take it," he said instantly. Standing in a classroom again felt surreal. His voice shook at first, then grew steady. With each lesson, each interaction with students, a sense of purpose and confidence returned. Hope began to fill the spaces where despair had settled. Months later, Michael moved into a small apartment. Not much, but it was his. The day he received his first full paycheck, he returned to the same subway station where he had met Daniel months before. "I never thanked you properly," Michael said. Daniel smiled, shrugging. "You did the work. I just bought a coffee." Michael shook his head firmly. "No. You reminded me I mattered." As Daniel walked away that night, New York continued its relentless rhythm. People rushed past, lights flickered, trains roared through underground tunnels. Life went on. But somewhere amid the chaos, a life had been changed, not by money, fame, or power, but by a single act of kindness. Sometimes, that is all it takes. And in the quiet corners of the city, among the shadows and neon lights, hope found a way to shine.